All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. First, let's start with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, anybody tell me if you can't hear me or any of the rest of us. Is everybody where they want to be? Okay. All right, well, yeah. All right, just want to say welcome to this special meeting. We have just a couple things that we need to do, and hope everybody is staying safe at home and is keeping their distance and following all the guidelines from the CDC. Moving on, would someone like to make a motion for the agenda?
So moved.
A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. On to public comment. Is there any public comment? Make sure that you sign in if you're interested in making public comment on the clipboard here at the front of the stage. Sir, are you interested? No? Okay. All right. Moving on then. Would someone like to make the first motion?
Make a motion to authorize a COLA increase for retired police pensioner Craig Staley to be paid from the police pension plan effective March 1, 2020. Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Moving on.
Make a motion to authorize C.S. Davidson to publicly advertise for solicitation of bids for the 2020 CDBG curb ramp replacement project. Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And lastly,
I'll make a motion.
here.
Yeah.
Let me wipe this down for you here, Patty.
Okay.
Move it over.
If you want, I can hold it.
That's okay. Can everyone hear me? Just my own PSA here. I am over 65 and I have asthma, and so I am practicing social distancing, and I hope you all are too. I'd like to make a resolution number 031920, a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg, Adams County, Pennsylvania, ratifying and continuing and extending the declaration of disaster emergency issued on March 16th, 2020 by proclamation of the Mayor of the Borough of Gettysburg. Whereas declarations of public health emergencies issued by federal, state, and local governments and agencies prompted by the continued spread and resulting health risks of the coronavirus, hereinafter referred to as COVID-19, have resulted in heightened responses taken by such federal, state, and local governments and agencies to contain and mitigate COVID-19 through various measures, including restricting access to public buildings and gathering places, the closing of non-essential businesses, recommending social distancing to avoid infection and quarantine of those infected with COVID-19. And whereas Section 7501 of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Services Code, 35 PA CSA 7501, governing general authority of political subdivisions relative to health and safety, authorizes the governing body of a political subdivision through its mayor or other chief executive to declare a local disaster emergency subject to ratification by the governing body and subject to the continuation and extension of the local disaster emergency in excess of 7 days with the consent of the governing body. And whereas on March 16, 2020, Theodore H. Mayor of the Borough of Gettysburg, issued and proclaimed a declaration of disaster emergency, authorizing the taking of all appropriate measures in order to facilitate the borough's coordination with other agencies and its necessary and appropriate response to the ongoing threat of COVID-19. And whereas pursuant to subsection 7501B of the Emergency Management Services Code, 35 PA CSA 7501B, a declaration of a local disaster emergency shall not be continued, extended, or renewed for a period in excess of 7 days, except by or with the consent of the governing body of the political subdivision. And whereas the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg, in ratifying, continuing, and extending the declaration of disaster emergency, desires to ensure that the Borough of Gettysburg has proper authority to coordinate with other agencies and to implement all possible actions in order to contain and mitigate the spread of COVID-19, consistent with the actions and recommendations of federal and state government and agencies, and consistent with the duty of the Borough of Gettysburg to protect the health, safety, and welfare of persons within its jurisdiction. Wherefore, be it resolved that the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg, Adams County, Pennsylvania, does hereby ratify, continue, and extend the declaration of disaster emergency issued and proclaimed by Mayor Theodore H. Streeter on March 16, 2020, through and continuing until the commencement of business on April 27, 2020. The declaration of disaster emergency issued and proclaimed by Mayor Streeter is incorporated herein by reference. This action is taken under and pursuant to the provisions of Section 7501 of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Services Code 35 PA CSA 7501, governing general authority of political subdivisions relative to health and safety and emergency management services, which authorizes the governing body of a political subdivision, through its mayor or other chief executive officer, to declare a local disaster emergency subject to ratification, continuation, and extension by the governing body of the political subdivision. This action is also taken consistent with and pursuant to the provisions of Section 10A06 of the Borough Code, 8 Pennsylvania CSA 10A06, relative to the general powers granted to the mayor of a borough in the event of a state of emergency to issue a proclamation declaring such state of emergency, subject to the powers of the Borough Council to ratify, continue, and extend by resolution the mayor's declaration of a state of emergency. This resolution duly adopted according to law on this 19th day of March 2020 at a duly advertised special meeting of the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg, Adams County, Pennsylvania, Borough of Gettysburg, and it's signed by Jacob W. Schindel, President of Borough Council, and also Sarah L. Stahl, Secretary.
All right, was there a second for that? Yep. All right, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. First, I'd just like to say that I think that this is going to be a very trying time for all of us, and I think that we all just need to stick together and stay in our homes as much as possible, and focus on how do we not infect others, as well as keeping ourselves safe. And I just want to say that I think that Gettysburg's up for the challenge. We don't have any confirmed cases that we all know about currently. I would like to keep it that way. So if we could do whatever we can to keep our distance from one another, and please think of others in this time of need. There are a lot of people that are not working currently, and I think we all just need to keep that in mind, and please focus on how you can help others in their time of need. So moving on, public comment. Any public comment? All right, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, we're done.